All right, guys. No, it's been a little bit since we did a video. Have been working on the truck, been trying to get some stuff done. If you notice, we've got shocks on it. I put some tires on it, and I know in some of the, I've been posting some photos, so I know y'all can kind of see what's going on. It's just been really busy, hadn't had time to do any video editing. So like I said, try to get y'all some content out today. I had got those tires from Ricardo, who was a guy that actually worked with Larry Cook, and they were just some rollers. They had some dry rot on them, and I mounted them up, and I got to looking at them. They just weren't, they weren't going to be the quality of the truck, and so I went ahead and got a new set, which y'all saw in my previous video. Ended up going with the Primex. They're 20 ply. They're the Terra Turbos. They're really good tires, and found a set, got a pretty good deal on them. They were new, and got those mounted up. Wanted to go over a couple of things I've worked on so far, and I'm gonna post some video up showing the planetaries, the final drives on the front. And I called Larry Cook and asked him, I said, is there a reason that y'all pack those with grease instead of just putting 90 weight oil? And Larry said they were so busy and running so much with this truck and driving all over the country with it that he said we just packed them full of grease so they wouldn't leak. On the front axle, what you've seen, the pinion looked good on it, so I figured, well, we'll take a shot at it, and if something's broke, we'll just tear it apart and fix it once we get the truck running and driving. I was hoping not to have to tear into the front axle. Gonna put up some split screen of the drums, and you can see that they were packed with grease. I went in and tore the final drives and the planetaries off the ends and went through those, cleaned them out, replaced the seals, and those final drives are here on the floor. I'll show you all those because I don't have to go back into those to go into the axle. I actually split the axle at the half shaft and pulled the CD out. And so all I gotta do is change that seal, and I have some differential work that I've been working on. One of the things I found on this front axle is when I went into the pinion, I pulled the yoke off, which I saw that photo. And when we went in to it, I noticed that housing was turning really easy. And man, that housing is probably about 6 inches deep, and it shouldn't be turning like that. Not with the pinion gear and all that, this whole assembly with it. So I went and popped it off, and of course found it broke in multiple pieces. And we'll have some video of that too. So I called Larry on it and said, hey, do you have any spare axles? I've ran these things. They're basically, everything I've heard is they were on an MB-2 consolidated. The military used these trucks to move around B-52 bombers. My understanding is these are 80-ton axles, and the carrier assembly's Eaton. On the back, I just went and got all the bearings and seals, and we rebuilt. We didn't, and I've called Eaton and tried to run these part numbers, and I've had no luck finding any parts. And so I called Larry and I said, hey, did you have any spare axles laying around? Larry's like, man, I wish I did. He said, but we didn't. He said, we basically had to custom build everything. And he said he's had to build one of those pinion housings before because they broke before. And so basically, there's a machine shop here in Victoria, Texas. It's called BKG. And one of my friends lives in the neighborhood over here. He came over, he looked at the housing. They're gonna take it and try to get that built for me this week, which would be great. And honestly, BKG, the owner of BKG worked with my grandfather when he sponsored this truck. They built the gearbox and they built the wheels for this truck back in the day when they were putting it together. So anyway, just a little history on that. I'm gonna grab the phone. I'm gonna do a little walk around, kind of show y'all and talk about some of the things that I've been working on. So let's get started on that. Okay, so as you can see, I'm glad I ended up tearing the front axle apart anyway. I've got the differential carrier pulled, got it out yesterday. I'm gonna get these arms, and then I gotta replace, I'm gonna have to get 2 new of these plates made. You can see this one's bowed out and beveled on the front. So I'll just cut those out with a plasma cutter, not a big deal. And I'm gonna replace this. I bought some just standard rubber material, cut these out and made them for the back. So we're gonna do the same on the front. Did get all the shocks mounted. Said I need to tie up all the cables, you know, brand new wire cables. One of the things, if you look, we actually went with a 160 amp alternator under here, new. And then I went with the new reduction drive starter. I'm telling you, big weight savings. And it spins that engine super fast, man. I think they spin the engine 30% faster than the old standard starters. And it just fires right up, works great. On the driveline assembly, got these old guards cleaned up and powder coated. They've been sitting in the shop for a while. Drive lines were completely rebuilt and balanced here in town. Got the U-joints in, got those greased, got the guards on. Hey.
Always.
We do have the old driveline guards here. They're a little rusty, the cages, but I think they'll clean up. So I'll blast those off, see what kind of shape they're in. If they're not in a good enough shape, I'll probably rebuild those. And if you look here, we had on the shocks, if you notice that center one, I had to move that pin up on the center and re-weld those because the roto chambers were just hard to find and they were very expensive. These Type 20s were like 60 bucks. So it wasn't gonna clear the center, so I just moved that center pin up just a little bit so it would clear. And then if you look here, you can see I replaced these plates back here also. They're all new with the rubber wipers. And then once they mount these tires and wheels, you know, they do scuff these up. Got those mounted here locally at Beasley Tire. They do a really good job, but you're gonna scratch the paint. So I've touched up 2 of them so far. So still need to touch up the other side, do a little work to it. And then we'll climb up on top of the truck real quick. So about the same. The hydraulic tank I ordered this week, and it's actually gonna go between the filter housings here and the fuel tank. I ordered a 10 gallon. I mean, this thing had 1.5 gallons. It had a 6 gallon per minute pump with a priority valve, so it probably reduced it down to 2. And there were 3x10 hydraulics, so it was pretty slow on the steering. We don't need that much capacity, so I went with a 2.5 inch bore by 10 stroke. And so that's gonna speed them up a little bit already. And I'm going from 1 gallon of hydraulic fluid to 10 gallons, and I'm hoping to not have to put a hydraulic cooler in, but I may have to put a little electric hydraulic cooler because I'm gonna go to 10 gallon per minute pump because I am gonna operate the rear steering and the front steering off the same pump. And hopefully I'm not circulating so much that it's gonna get hot. If so, then we'll make the adjustment. Then that's the little fuel tank that was in the truck. I have a sending unit ordered for it because we are putting a better instrument cluster in here. I'll tap that in, so I have a fuel gauge for the front. I probably am gonna order the fuel cooler. You know, these AV71s, the fuel runs through the head, so the fuel comes back very hot. And usually most of them are used on rig tanks or, you know, 200 gallon tanks, and that's fine. If you're gonna run this truck for any period of time, I would say after about 10 to 15 minutes, that fuel will get to 140 degrees. And then, you know, your horsepower is gonna start dropping. It's hard on your injectors, so I'm gonna make some changes on that. Battery box, hydraulic pump for the cab lift, and then you can see the air tank, got it in. Got all that plumbed up. I will be showing some side video also of the air compressor installation. If you look here, that is the emergency brake. It's just a 24-24 brake chamber. Actually works the drum brake on the back of the gearbox. So without air pressure, it is engaged. And then I just stuck the button on there the other day so I could actuate it because I actually put it in gear and moved it forward in the shop so I could clean up the space behind me. I've made a little bit of a mess. So here's the air compressor that we mounted. It had a 45-degree compressor on it because it didn't have a passenger seat, you know, and if you know you're sitting on top of the engine, your seat's probably about right here, and I'm gonna have to put a heat guard over that and the hydraulic pump also. And so went with a straight compressor, put a new governor on it. It is water cooled. That's what the 2 lines going to the front are for. I did have to change the auxiliary drive gear. For some reason that other one, the auxiliary drive, I think they make 2 of them. There's one that's like 2 inches and one that's like 2 1/4 or something. So I had to put the longer auxiliary drive gear on this one. As far as the instrument panel, I'm gonna try to use this. I don't really like the look of this one. I am gonna use the Versa valve. I am gonna use that park brake, order a new button for that. This Versa valve actually works just fine. I did test it. I'm gonna cut this here and cut it on this side. I'm gonna keep this instrument cluster. We're going to put 3 more holes in here. Basically just need water temp, oil pressure, and air pressure in the brake system. And then fuel level, I think trans temp, I don't know, there's another 1 or 2. I bought all the gauges. So I'm gonna run some diamond plate. Basically this is gonna be flat. The shifter's gonna be down here on the bottom. This box is gonna go away. And I'm gonna run some flat diamond plate here. And then I'm gonna run the flat diamond plate down the side here and then come back. So I'm gonna encase this. So it'll look a little bit better. Okay, so the other thing is I've had people ask where the body's at, kind of where we stand time-wise on those things. So there's a guy named Pat here locally that does really good restoration work, and he has the bed and the tailgate. There's a pretty good amount of work that need to be done to that just to get it right. So he is basically getting that ready. The body is at Caney's Welding here in Victoria, Texas. He's actually building the roll cage for me. We're using DOM material and getting a decent roll cage put in the cab. Once he's done with that, I will take the body over to Pat, and then Pat will have the whole truck and he'll be able to get that done. The body will remove off of the subframe. And so as soon as he's done with the roll cage, I'll take the subframe and the roll cage, because the roll cage is attached to that subframe. I'll take that over to Coastal Powder Coating here in Victoria. And they've got a huge booth. They can put that whole subframe in and powder coat it, and it's gonna be silver. Subframe be silver and the roll cage. The body's gonna be the same metallic blue that the Texas Toy was previously. And then once all those pieces are done, I can bring the subframe back here. But the biggest part I need for this truck is the subfloor. And as soon as he's done building the roll cage, I can get the subfloor. That's the part that mounts up on top. It has the 2 driver seats. I can put the steering, I have the orb, for the steering put in, finish my instrument cluster. I know where all that's gonna sit, and because this truck basically, without the roll cage or the body, is pretty self-sufficient. Everything is on that seat floor, all your electronics, everything. And so you really don't need the body or that to, get all the small details finished up. So once I receive those things, I can get all that finished up. Hopefully we get this housing back this week, and then probably gonna take that back to Rodney's One Stop. There's some things I do, setting up differentials. I've had a life lesson in that. I did a set of F250 axles one day and thought I did it right, and made about 150 miles, and ended up costing me twice the money to get those axles re-geared. So I let the professionals handle the differentials. I stay away from those. Anything else, most of the time I'll mess with. So, like I said, got it tore apart. We'll get that to Rodney and let him get that put together back for me, and we'll get the carrier back in. Probably this evening, I'm gonna try to work on cleaning these up, cleaning the globes up. I'm gonna get these pieces off, check those Timken bearings on the bottom, make sure they're good. And then, of course, I think tomorrow maybe we'll go to the bearing place here in town and pick up those new seals, everything I need for that. So that's kind of where the truck's at right now. It was nice to be able to start it and shift it and see it actually move on its own power, you know, forward and backwards. So we're getting closer. Hopefully we'll get this thing done here within the next 2 or 3 months. And just stay tuned. Do appreciate everybody watching the videos. Like I said, sorry it took me a while to get something up. It's just been trying to put what time I have in on this. And but man, appreciate all the watchers, appreciate the views. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for me, man. This channel is growing. It's really awesome to see this, and we cannot wait to get this Texas toy out. And man, mainly to let the kids get to ride in this thing. You know, it's going to be amazing. Huge experience. You know, Larry did that with a bunch of kids. Me, you know, I was one of them, and you know, I think it was a big part of my mechanical career. You know, getting to ride in something like that where you see the engine in it, and so that's one of the big things we're hoping for. Taking some car shows, let some kids, you know, go for a ride in it and check it out. And anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Y'all have a good holiday. Catch you on the next one.